Let me tell you about another story that is all around the Internet. It is bizarre. A report apparently prepared for Prime Minister Putin by Russia's Foreign Intelligence Service, circulating in the Kremlin, states that the German Chancellor, Angela Merkel, has now become the latest in a growing line of Western leaders to make a surprise visit to Afghanistan this month, following visits by President Barack Obama, British Prime Minister David Cameron, French President Nicolas Sarkozy. Only Sarkozy's trip was concealed, as he was already in India on a state visit when he was rushed, apparently by U.S. military aircraft, to the Afghan war zone. Why the sudden rush of these powerful leaders of the Western world to Afghanistan? This report continues. Directly view the discovery by the U.S. military scientists of what is described as a Vimana, entrapped in a time well that has already caused the disappearance of at least 8 American soldiers, trying to remove it from the cave that it has been hidden in for the past 5,000 years. A Vimana is an ancient flying machine. Sanskrit depicts it with different pictures. It's truly an amazing story. But could it be one of those Internet myths? Well, up next, Stephen Quayle joins us. We'll talk with him about that on Coast to Coast AM. And welcome back to Coast. I'm George Norrie. A Vimana is a mythical flying machine described in the ancient mythology of India. References to these flying machines are very commonplace in ancient Indian texts, even describing their use in warfare, as well as being able to fly within Earth's atmosphere. Vimanas were also said to be able to travel into space and travel submerged underwater as well. There is a very strange story that is out there on the Internet that talks about a Vimana being discovered in Afghanistan, in a cave, in a hole. I thought we'd bring Stephen Quayle in here. Michael Kremos talked about these cases before, too. Stephen, welcome back. How are you?
Good, George. Thank you. What a timely story this is to break, because the world's leaders are getting ready to make the grand announcement. The grand announcement will be that obviously we're not alone, we're being visited. But the Vimanas are even a more compelling story, because even going back to the time of Babylon and the Chaldean Empire, they stated, let me just give a statement, we'll go from there. The privilege of operating a flying machine is great. The knowledge of flight is among the most ancient of our inheritance, a gift from those from upon high. We received it from them as a means of saving many lives. Now, what's fascinating is whether you're reading it in Sanskrit, whether you're reading it in cuneiform, whether you're reading it in, talking about it, there are thousands of pages, not only on the fact that Vimanas exist, but how their propulsion system works, where they get their raw materials, and they describe in great detail, George, things that make the Pentagon absolutely salivate with the sheer glee of a new ancient weapon system. I was telling Tom Danheiser before we went on the air, I said, in order to understand the future, it's imperative to have a firm grasp of the past. And what's happening is all the world's leaders, all the world's ambassadors, they're all being, if you will, inoculated, and I'm using that word, into the knowledge that's been controlled by so few for so many years for the purpose of spinning it to enable them to complete their control over the planet. So Vimanas and the flying machines that the Babylonians, the Mesopotamians, and all others have written about, and the weapon systems associated with Gurkha talking about in the ancient Vedic texts, talking about the power of 10,000 suns, the vitrified cities, meaning cities turned to glass, radioactive skeletons. All this stuff is so old, and it all has a common theme that if you will, supernatural group of beings, entities, came to Earth and gave this technology, and the privilege always flew around. Even Chinese emperors had flying ships in their ancient history. I'm talking 4,000 years ago.
This is a strange story, Stephen, in that it falls right on the heels of Secretary of State Hillary Clinton calling every ambassador back to D.C. for a very confidential meeting, which I've never heard of before. It's very strange.
Well, there are claims it's happened before. I can tell you this, based on what I understand, it has never happened before. The scuttlebutt behind all of the different people who are talking out of school, that are being threatened with their lives for talking out of school, is that they're being pretty much primed, if you will, and clued in because they expect, U.S. government expects a mass backlash against the control of the information on flying saucers, aliens, ancient technology, and all that. So basically, you have to call the boys and girls home to give them a pep talk and a prep talk to prepare them to deal with the world leaders, because this is going to be a quantum shift in thinking. We're talking about an event now and multiple events and multiple findings. And George, what they're admitting to is nothing compared to what they've had for 50, 60, 70 years. Stargates, as you know, the word time well is used in that article. And what you're also seeing behind the scenes, and the Coast family needs to hear this, and listeners, is that there is a war going on. The Chinese and the Russians and the U.S. and everybody else is vying for the ancient technology. So there's, if you will, a global hunt on for any form of the ancient technology. And there has been a group of people that, thank God, have been trying to keep the bad guys from getting this. But I'm telling you, we see on YouTube, we see actual spaceships firing laser beams at each other. We see masses moving into our solar system. We're seeing the effects on Saturn and Jupiter of, when I say electrifying, we're seeing electrical discharges on the planets and the gases. And so we're getting ready to behold some of the most amazing sights, and literally the Norway Spiral and all the things associated with CERN. CERN is a stargate, and it's interesting that when you're dealing with CERN, the most sophisticated technology yet openly admitted to, and there's stuff that's way beyond that. But the point is, they use the god Shiva for their emblem, if you will, and the emblem of Shiva is, what Oppenheimer, one of the inventors of the atom bomb, said he had become the destroyer of worlds. So now we're reading about Vimanas, we're reading about ambassadors being called home, we're being told that all this stuff is going on behind the scenes, and it's right in front of us. And there's a great word. It's called discernment.
That's right.
Discernment means to be able to tell, to see beyond, to go and probe the real reasons. And I think that the real story is yet to come. This is just the tip of the iceberg.
So this story that's all around the Internet, which is bizarre, there's no question about it, it's bizarre, that a Vimana is in a cave, it's been hidden for 5,000 years, soldiers have merely disappeared trying to remove it. Can you believe that story?
Well, of course I do. Let me share this, and when it's not a question of belief, okay? It's a question of do we get anywhere near the truth of what really has been found? Obviously, the Philadelphia experiment. Have you ever had Al Bielek on your show?
Oh, many times. Many times.
Okay.
Boy, he's getting up there in age, too, now.
Right, and I mean, the people, and before Phil Schneider was murdered, okay, and talking about the deep underground military bases, bunkers, and stuff that he worked on, and the alien wars, everything. Again, the thing is that we've been so inculcated with basically lies and diversion, and I'd say perversion of the truth, that now that the ancient technology, the web bots are talking about secrets revealed, they're talking about the hidden technology. I think Cliff High uses the word space goat farts, things that are out of the realm of most people's comprehension. And this is one time, George, where everyone's going to have to basically get out of the box, the dumbed-down television, and start to read a little bit of history, just like what you were reading the background on the Vimanas. It's so astonishing that India has its brightest scientists recreating many of the actual compounds that are used. I mean, they're talking about graphite rods. They're talking about mercury. And what's fascinating, they're talking about cold fusion. That's why you're seeing platinum and palladium absolutely exploding in price. They're two of the rarest precious metals out there, but it's because they're used in this. So we're talking about red mercury. Remember years ago you and I did a show on red mercury.
That's right. Now, though they don't disclose where this cave is in Afghanistan, I'm beginning to wonder if it's pretty darn close to the military man you had on our show years ago who found that giant.
Absolutely. By the way, it's ironic you would say that. I just received an email from him at 9:39 tonight.
That is strange.
And so I think your timing is just it's one of those time-based important points. The thing that's interesting is that when you find this type of technology, you also find giants. I broke the story from Iran, and I want to share this. The Iranians are basically not backing down. They're going to bring out some of the most astonishing skeletal finds. You know, the number one question I get on giants, and you cannot separate the technology from the giants. And as the Babylonian text says, that they were given the ability to fly in these machines from those who came from heaven came to earth, or from heaven. In other words, the fallen angels, the gods of the Sumerians, as the Pentagon refers to them.
There is some inscriptions in this cave where this Vimana is supposed to be that claims that the rightful owner was a prophet called Zoroaster. He was Persian at the time. That's bizarre because he was real.
Well, and there's a whole religion, Zoroastrianism. I mean, for the record, Persia did not, embrace Islam until, not too long ago, maybe 1,000 years or so. But Zoroaster was very interesting because they worship the god Mithra, and it was Mithraism, Mithraism. And Zoroaster was basically a very, very knowledgeable guy. I believe he was most likely a hybrid, fallen angel, earth woman, because the knowledge that these guys possessed is like the priesthood. It's kind of like the Illuminati bloodlines. They absolutely claim divinity to the fallen angels and base their control of the information and the true artifacts of history and the true technology. It's just like Michael Cremo, Forbidden Archaeology. Not probably, if people would realize how much evidence, and Forbidden Archaeology is probably one of the best books in the world out there for detailing case. I believe Michael did a beautiful and brilliant job. David Childers, you've had Hatcher Childress on your show. He's written an amazing book on the ancient technology and the anti-gravitational propulsion systems of this stuff. And we can talk about the Temple of Saqqara, actually the Pyramid of Saqqara. And you can go in, and you've seen them, George. They have pictures of fighter planes. They have pictures of, they look like Star Wars speeders or speedsters, whatever they call those things. The thing is that the technology of the ancients so far surpassed what we're led to believe down what I call the primrose path of perdition and denial. And this is it. Who controls the true flow of information controls the population. And now we're seeing a return, in my opinion, to the very same political base that the Nazis had. And the Nazis sent out what were called the Ahnenerbe. And the Ahnenerbe went all through the world looking for religious artifacts, for the supernatural artifacts. And Hitler was obsessed with India and Tibet. And the scientists, the German scientists, even Dr. Werner von Braun, when he was alive, acknowledged the presence of aliens and star travel. The former head of Skunk Works said if the American people ever found out how that we've already been beyond the stars, that they'd basically string us up. Well, people don't get it, that guy just didn't get drunk at some going-away party. These are men who are in the deepest realms of the world of black physics and of, if you will, forbidden knowledge, and forbidden to the public, but well known to them. So they're getting ready to spring something. The ambassadors of the world are being prepped. Everything is going to change dramatically, and this is a huge story. This has legs. Now, the source of that, the article you were reading, was from a Russian disinformation service, but remember, even in disinformation, you can pick up nuggets of truth.
True. That's right.
And so the nuggets of truth, what you've got to do is put nuggets of truth into a historic context. And if anything, I want people to start to learn to do their homework. And if they'll do their homework, by the way, my new book, I told Tom, is coming out, God willing, May 1st, and it's going to be called something like, this isn't the final title, but it's Myths, Monsters, and the end-time technology.
Perfect. And we could be right in the middle of all of this, Stephen. Stay with us. We're going to take some phone calls with Stephen Quayle, whose website, stevequayle.com, is linked up right now at coasttocoastam.com. We're reacting to a bizarre Internet story that says an ancient flying machine, Vimana. We've talked about them before in the program. Matter of fact, I was on the History Channel's Ancient Aliens talking about these things. I do believe that civilizations of the past had high technology anyway, but they say that it's been found in a cave, and we're trying to get it. We just can't pull it out. That's weird. Anyway, we'll take your phone calls in a moment on Coast to Coast AM. I'm George Norrie. Well, next hour, physicist Brian Greene joins us as we talk about the hidden reality parallel universes. Really looking forward to that. When we come back, we're going to take your phone calls with Stephen Quayle about many of the things he covers, including this bizarre story of a Vimana being discovered in a cave in Afghanistan. Maybe, maybe not. Now, with a story like this, Stephen, will we ever get a real answer?
Will we ever get a real answer?
Yeah.
Absolutely, because I just got an email that kind of goes along with the same thing that you're asking that question, George. The guys are saying, do you think the government will ever really tell us the truth? Only when they're forced to, and it's no longer in our government's hands. I started out earlier in the interview saying that the Chinese and the Russians and the Iranians and the Egyptians, everybody is basically coming to the point of truth because they can no longer keep it hidden. A lot of the United States' foreign aid that went to Egypt, for instance, was to keep the real truth. You've had different people on your show that have talked. It's not what's on the Giza Plateau. It's what's under the Giza Plateau that counts. I've talked to special operations guys that have gone in and taken the giant sarcophaguses out of the underground citadel, their word, and you've had people on your show, especially that one lady, talking about the giants underneath the pyramids. You remember that story?
Sure do.
Well, the point is that the technology, by the way, the reason we really went into Iraq wasn't the weapons of mass destruction. If you notice, the largest military base in the Middle East is being built in the very same area where Gilgamesh's tomb was, also where the cradle of civilization. It's not the cradle of civilization. It's, if you will, the landing port for a lot of the aliens. See, again, let me make this clear to people. The alien deception is going to be played out. They're going to attack the foundation of Christianity. They're going to attack the entire belief system of the world. And the guy known as the Antichrist, he's going to come on the scene after a horrific war, which, by the way, looks like it could be literally weeks away in the Middle East. They're going to have, if you will, the supernatural element. Then all of the secret and hidden technology and all the stuff they've known about will be utilized to basically wow and enslave those who are left alive. And it's so simple, yet it's playing out exactly to their benefit. So will the United States government finally fess up? They'll be forced to, because the Russians and Chinese are playing their hand right now. Iran, which does believe that the Mahdi will come out of the well, you've heard Ahmadinejad, but people don't understand that when they use the word time well or well in the context, they're talking about a Stargate. Obviously, when you understand the basis of Zoroastrianism and you understand what they thought, what they believed, you can't get away from the fact, George, that everything is happening, whether you're seeing triangular-shaped UFOs around the world, massive orbs, all of the different things that are coming out. Yeah, maybe 1,000 people can be hallucinating, 2,000, but now we're seeing tens of millions of people all over the world. You know, you watch the YouTube videos too, but the point is there are tens of millions of people seeing this. So when they can no longer contain something, then, like, they'll not let a good crisis go to waste. They will utilize this for their fear and control formula that has worked so well for so long.
All right, to the phones we go. Let's pick it up by going to Victoria, Virginia. Kevin is a first-time caller. Hey, Kevin, thanks for calling.
Yes, I agree with your the man talking there. I totally agree with him. I feel like ever since USSR went into Afghanistan, that we've been fighting over this thing that they've found here recently. They've just the seed that we just been found here recently. It's been known about for a while now. Been fighting over it, and I feel like I just want to ask you, the man on the show, a question.
Sure.
I want to feel like, is this the image? Do you think this could be the image of the beast? I'll take this off the air.
Okay,
I don't believe it's the image of the beast. I believe it's the technology of the beast, and utilizing the technology of the beast, they will obviously create, whether the image of the beast is a hologram, whether it is, there's so many different interpretations of it, but it certainly is the time period for the beast to appear. And some people believe that the beast is the computer system, all that. There will be a literal entity who will come on the scene as a world ruler, step onto the stage when the whole world seemingly coming apart at the seams, and all he has to do, obviously, in my opinion, it's the devil, is just quit causing trouble. You got peace, you stir it up, you provide the solution, worship me, the devil speaking, and voila, we're into the 3.5 years of the Great Tribulation, and people are going to be absolutely forced by the control of food, food, natural resources, and the earth changes that are going to happen at such a tumultuous and perilous pace that they're going to be clamoring for any form of stability and something to eat.
Let's go to Noel in Ellisburg, Washington. There you go, Noel. Go ahead.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. I just wanted to say a few things about this. I'll try to spit them out quickly.
Sure.
You had mentioned a couple times videos on YouTube, which I think is ridiculous because there's absolutely no credibility on anything on that. Also, the ship they found in a cave somewhere. And don't get me wrong, I'm a true believer. I just think that some of this is over the top. I live in Ellensburg, which is where...
Can I answer let me answer the caller. You think, you're using words, you think. Sir, I would say this, in the quest for intellectual honesty, just because you think doesn't make something real or not real. Just because I tell you something's real or not real. The bottom line is the evidence is against you, and what you're doing is just volunteering your opinion, which you're entitled to, but your opinion has no historic standing, and not all the videos on YouTube are fake. Good night. There are people singing in rock bands that really existed, so your statement is just basically you're defeating your own purpose. There are legitimate sightings. There are legitimate videos. And again, if you're, and I got to tell you this, George, most people cannot comprehend this stuff because it destabilizes what they see as their world that gives them a peaceful place of understanding. So I disagree with the caller. He's obviously entitled to his opinion, but history is against him.
By the way, YouTube is so successful, we are going to debut in the not-too-distant future our own paranormal video network so people can share their stories like that in the genre, Stephen. You'll be part of that as well.
Well, I think that's incredibly wise. Again, the testimony of history. How many eyewitnesses? You know, first of all, anybody who would even understand the basis of evidence cannot make the statements that gentleman made and be credible. Now, he's entitled to his opinion, but the point is that it's like this. It's like the powers that be have controlled the airwaves. They have controlled the publication realm. Outside of Coast to Coast and a few other shows on the radio and the people posting stuff on the internet, and look at how they're vilified. And when I know I've interviewed people, George, and so have you, that have been murdered after coming forth with what they know, I tell you this, they know something that got them killed, and so they don't get killed because they're just sitting around, you know, smoking hashish, okay? They get killed for what they've revealed because, again, the control of information is the control of the population. The dissemination of information is to direct the population to a desired point that the powers that be, the Illuminati, want them to be. And I believe that's the point of slaughter.
Let's go to our Skype line. Julio's with us, Ames, Iowa. Go ahead, Julio.
Hey, George, how you doing?
Okay.
God bless you, Steve, for all you're doing. Two questions for you. Number one, do you think, since we're living in like a genetically modified world with all of our food, our water being poisoned, weather modification, do you think with the secret meeting that they had in Afghanistan, they're getting things set for Project Bluebeam by NASA? And then secondly, national level exercise 2011 is coming up in May around Illinois and a couple other states. Do you think they will manipulate a huge earthquake like the new Madrid semiotic zone back in 1811 to get us into like a martial law scenario? And God bless you, Steve, once again.
Well, yes on all the questions, and take them one at a time. Project Bluebeam, or the holographic manifestation of whatever imagery that the powers that be want to project, is a very real technology. But they've even gone a step beyond that now with the voice of God through infrasonics and other technology being able to be beamed into our heads. A national level exercise, everybody I talk to, everybody, it doesn't matter, intelligence, military, law enforcement, former whatevers, everybody is being told, get your 6 months worth of food, get ready, it's coming down. So their statement is never let a good crisis go to waste, and the best crisis is the one you generate to bring about the ultimate control over the people. So yes, 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 and more yes. Every day, what troubles me, George, is that the American people are vilified, whether you're a patriot, whether you're a veteran, whether you're a constitutionalist, whether you're somebody who believes in conspiracy theory. Good night. and I will say this, good bloody night, they're the ones who are creating the conspiracy and then claiming that people who identify the conspiracy are treasonous or are threats to society. And meanwhile, we take on, if you will, we're taking on the same outpicturing as the Third Reich or the Fourth Reich. And the point being is that control. And I started out on my radio career almost 19 years ago saying the ultimate goal of everything they do is ultimately control and destroy. And I think that's what we're seeing. The famine that's being generated, the floods. Literally, people should read the book of Isaiah, the 24th chapter. I posted it on my website, stevequayle.com, and read about how the earth is going to shake on its foundations, how it's literally going to split apart. And then we get into all of the prophecies of ancient land masses rising. The reason why India is having so many interesting finds archaeologically and historically is because a lot of the cyclones are turning up stuff that had been buried underwater. Grant Jeffries, not Grant Jeffries, forgive me, the guy that wrote Underworld. I'm trying to think of his name. One of the leading guys in the world wrote his book Underworld about all the ancient civilizations that have gone underwater, like Yanguni up in Okinawa and stuff. And so what we're at a point now where all that's coming to the forefront. The national level exercise that the caller talked about is under the guise of exercise, you preposition men and materials for an operational plan. And when we're hearing about $500 million in food being purchased, when we're hearing about body bags to be used in the case of flooding, when we're hearing about the crystal caves in Arkansas starting to resonate because there's so much energy being poured into them, that's called loading the faults, L-O-A-D-I-N-G, the faults. When you're talking about the very stuff of 6,000 years ago of the Vimana flying machines having beyond nuclear weapons, having weapons that would literally not only fry a person, but cause them to disappear. And by the way, the Vimanas have cloaking, meaning invisibility. And so how do these ancients come up with formulas for propulsion? How is it that every civilization of the world that has the myths of either flying machines or craft of whatever kind, it's not just the Hindus, it's obviously the Babylonians, it's the Chaldeans, it's the Chinese. How does one explain that when you can get Chinese silk paintings of the emperor of its time flying around his little George Jetson machine? You know, it's astonishing because, again, that's the kind of history I pray we get taught. That's the kind of history that isn't being taught.
Stephen, you're very spiritual. There's a religious group out there that believes May 21st is going to be the end. What do you think?
I don't think that at all.
Neither do I.
I don't think that at all. I think that obviously the Illuminati, the Luciferian, the Brotherhood, they have dates that are significant to them. And what's interesting to me, George, is that the dates now are being thrown around ever so much, but everybody that I talked to, including the last time you and I were on your show together, some of the leading banking investment firms were headed into their bunkers already. So the strategic positioning of men and materials, and for those in the Pentagon, for those in the CIA, NSA, all of the 3- and 4-letter agencies out there, remember, there are people that you don't even know exist that are going to use you guys as cannon fodder. And when you go to where do we go next, it's going to be such a perilous period of time that there's never been anything like it. And this is what's going to be so destabilizing. Look at Australia. You just get over the floods and you get the fires. You just get over the fires and now they got to deal with giant locusts. I thought that was, you probably saw that, George.
Yeah, sure did.
Everything is absolutely becoming biblical plagues on steroids. And the thing that I think that is the most astonishing and yet confounding of all this thing is 2 and 2 still is 4. It doesn't matter if Time Magazine or Newsweek or CNN, Fox, if they say 2 and 2 is 7, 8, or 9. You saw the story. They're just now getting with the chemtrails. Excuse me? They're 15 years late.
Let's go to Greensboro, North Carolina, east of the Rockies. Hello, Ross. Take it away.
George, hi. Steve, tell me, do you think that we are now being influenced and monitored by ETs? And is Egypt, what's going on in the Middle East, is it proof of that? In other words, is there mind control being used? Because the Middle East has erupted overnight.
I don't think it's going to be an ET-related issue. Stephen, do you? I think
No. I share this. I don't believe so either. You've got to stir up the masses, and if you know anything about how the intelligence community works, and listen, I had some great instructors in this stuff. You are seeing absolute full-scale, full-court press of the destabilization of the Mubarak government. You're seeing it spreading into Jordan. Even the Queen of Jordan now is being targeted by Jordanian extremists. There's somebody stirring, I won't use the word, but stirring the stuff, okay? And the whole idea is to bring the whole world into a global upheaval. It's going to happen, by the way.
Yet it might be in some cases justified. Here's Mubarak. He's got $70 billion in the bank somewhere, Stephen. He hasn't worked a day in his life, really.
Well, no, and I got to tell you something. I'm not a fan of dictators, okay, including the ones that we have in this country. And in my opinion, okay, this is my opinion now, the people, remember the famous statement, it's not who casts their votes that count, it's who counts the votes that count. So the thing that, what I'm trying to get people to understand is we're seeing, listen, the motto of the Illuminati is order out of chaos, ordo ad chaos. They have to take away the old to bring in the new. They're willing, just as the phoenix self-immolates, they're willing to nuke the different cities. By the way, I just posted a video on my website. Maybe you've seen it already, George, but a guy in San Diego saying, of course we've intercepted nuclear materials and nuclear weapons. Yeah. And now they're claiming he's crazy. I can tell you this. If it were not for the grace of God of some incredibly brave men and women in July of 4 or 5 years ago, 29 cities would have gone up in this country that had pre-positioned nuclear weapons. Somebody say, yeah, you can't know that. Of course I can't unless somebody tells me that. But the point is that when I said that on your show...
Well, and Paul Williams also did. He believed 6 cities were targeted.
Right.
And he has come under the wrath of everybody because...
Oh, yeah. See, so the thing is, remember this. You can't stand the song, so you've got to quit play. You got to kill the minstrel. You can't stand the message. You got to shoot the messenger. I mean, I got to tell you something. They work overtime to discredit anybody. When I talk about giants on your show, it's fascinating because Stan Dale, who handles my web statistics and website, he'll give me printouts, and I can tell you, it's pretty amazing who listens to us. When we talk about that, it's like a hot button. We talk about Stargates, it's a hot button. We talk about the stuff that we talk about, it's like, you know, some things they let ride, other things they won't let ride, and they interrupt. Tonight, for instance, Hawk, my guest host on my Survive to Thrive show, right. He was taken off the air the minute he went on, and the whole server farm.
I heard about that. Somebody clipped him, huh?
Yeah, they took him down. And the minute he got off the air, it all came back.
Nice timing, isn't it?
Yeah, nice timing. And what he was going to talk about, you know, was the Middle East and the intel coming from the Middle East. Listen, this is a setup. This is an absolute manipulated setup to draw the whole Middle East into a global war. We'll get into it. The Russians are positioning assets. The Chinese are positioning assets. And this is a time for people to become sober and do their homework.
Well, you know the old saying, Stephen, times they are a-changing. Stephen Quayle.